guys. Well, this is called You Go First. It is actually a sparkling wine. It is a Chardonnay with Pinot Noir and Pinot Meunier, aged 35 months in the bottle. And so, something you'll learn about our brand is that we actually make wines about stories. We don't tell stories about wines. And so essentially, every label, every art piece, everything you see has a story to it. This one, in fact, has our winemaker's feet on it. That is Dave Phinney's feet there.
Oh, I love it.
That is actually him walking to dinner with his wife. He saw this hopscotch. On the way to dinner, he jokingly nudged his wife. He's like, hey, you go first. They did not play hopscotch, but got him thinking about the times he did stuff with his brother after saying those words. You know, the challenge, the dare. And he wanted to honor this wine for the people that go first in life. And so he called it You Go First, his celebratory sparkling wine. And I hope you guys enjoy it. I know it's funny because a lot of things we're famous for is we're famous for big, bold reds. And so not a lot of people know that we did a sparkling, but I think he did a pretty killer sparkling personally. So many people are familiar with one of our Chardonnays called Mannequin. It's actually a widely distributed Chardonnay, which is a fantastic Chardonnay that's actually done Sur Lie in French oak. But this is a little bit different.
Color.
This is actually called Firebent. So this is a winery exclusive Sauv Blanc that we don't distribute. And Dave actually had Firebent as his second trademark he ever purchased for Orin Swift, but he hasn't used it until now. And so if you didn't know, there's two main ways of bending barrels. That's water bent and fire bent. Dave actually started off doing water bent because it was more affordable. But when he didn't like the flavors that came from it, he actually expanded out into doing fire bent barrels and fell in love with the flavor profiles from it. And so we now exclusively use fire bent barrels for all of our wines. And even this right here is meant to represent the inside char of a fire bent barrel. This is called Scattered Stones. So this is another, honestly, one of my favorites. And what this is it is a Syrah with Cab Sauv and Grenache, so it is a red blend. Yeah. And Dave loves Syrah, he puts it in a lot of his varietals. But with that said, this is the first time that Orin Swift as a brand has ever made an appellated wine to Stagecoach. So basically, Dave has always gotten a lot of grapes from Stagecoach, but it's always been Stagecoach and or Stagecoach with, or maybe just didn't go through the process of getting it appellated to Stagecoach. So for the first time ever, he decided to do it, and we have a Stagecoach appellated wine for the very first time. So this is the very first vintage, 2022, of Scattered Stones. So Sideways literally kind of, it affected Merlot in the wine industry. There's even a historical term called the Sideways effect. People ripped it out of the ground, they stopped planting it. There's even a running joke in the Valley. How do you get people to drink your Merlot? You call it a Bordeaux. And so, Dave did a competition, actually, back in, it was a 2020 release, 2018 vintage, between a double and a take. One being a Merlot, very American style, 100%. One being a French style, Bordeaux blend, Merlot, Petit Verdot, Cab Franc. The idea was you had to buy them and vote on which one you liked the best. Everyone voted, and it was a tie. And so the intent on it was to give you a double take at Merlot. Give it a second chance, if you will. And so, as a compromise, he made it predominantly Merlot and put a little bit of other stuff in there. But with that saying, here we have the old label for double and take. Even this XXO stands for the fact that he didn't choose double or take, but he went with double take. And the guy on there is a guy doing a wind tunnel test with the military.
Wow.
Dave saw it in a magazine, just liked the photo, had a double take at it, which is where he got the name, put it on a bottle. So this is actually the 2022 vintage. We get this primarily from Stagecoach. This is also one of the last vintages we got from a really cool vineyard called Llewellyn here in St. Helena. 2022 Papillon Red Blend. So, I say red blend, but it is actually a Bordeaux blend. So, it is a Cabernet Sauvignon, Cabernet Franc, Petit Verdot, Malbec, and Merlot. Hands on the front actually belong to the first person that ever sold grapes to Dave. So his name is Vince Toffanelli. He's actually his family has been making wine for a long, long time, making grapes for a long time. And so he's got these great working hands, working the land since childhood. And so Dave really wanted to honor his working hands, which meant he needed an 8-letter word. Didn't know what that word was until one day, walking through the vineyards, his daughter was on his shoulders. She was young, and she saw this butterfly flying overhead. She's like, look, Daddy, papillon, papillon, which is butterfly in French.
Oh, does she speak French?
Well, the moment stuck with Dave, thought she was a genius. Totally forgot that his wife was actually sending her to French immersion classes. They were working on a winery in France called D66 at the time, and so they wanted to kind of give them an immersion to the French language. With that said, Dave just thought she was awesome and a genius, as every father would. And so called up Vince Toffanelli and was like, hey man, I got the 8-letter word, let's get together. He even hired a tattoo artist to actually do the sharpening on the hands. It is not a real tattoo. And then got a photographer named Greg Gorman to take the photo. So Mercury Head, my personal favorite on our portfolio, 100% Cabernet Sauvignon. And so Dave has always had this mentality, so if he's gonna ask someone to spend over $100 on a bottle of wine, it better cost him something. And so sometimes a personal story, sometimes something monetary, like this one, or both. He literally used to collect Mercury Head dimes as a kid. And so when he wanted it to be something from childhood, he purchased over 100,000 Mercury Head dimes from various collectors all over the US to glue to the bottles. When he bought all these Mercury Heads, they all range between about $1 to $5. They're made of silver, and they all date between 1916 and 1945. So on the front is an actual Mercury Head dime.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Wow.
We get it from some pretty fantastic vineyards as well. We go to specific blocks in Stagecoach that he picks aside for Mercury Head. We go to Morrisoli, which is an awesome vineyard in Rutherford on the valley floor. And then we also go to a really cool one called Mato Rosso, which is on Moon Mountain, some of the oldest cab vines in California. In fact, their roots range so deep that they actually go straight down to the water table, over 20 to 40 feet sometimes. Big thank you to Black Tie Transportation, and we wanted to thank you so much for joining us, and we hope to see you all again soon. Cheers.